It is the destiny of planet Earth to be united as the flag of humankind. That's our destiny. And nations were erected to protect boundaries, borders, in the model of separation, which is like the model of the Tower of Babel, where everybody starts babbling in their own tongues when we come from this place of unity. So that's, I like people just to see that in their minds, and not to it's okay to watch the news, but just be mindful of the impulses there to grab you. It's designed to get you to hate. It's designed to get you to see one way. And it's mostly fabricated BS. It's engineered to have this agenda and not to show the other side, for example.
Hi, I'm Carol Saunders, host of the Spiritual Forum, where I have extraordinary conversations exploring the vast realms of spiritual living. If you're on a healing, learning, awakening, or intertransformational journey, this podcast will support you. The personal stories, wisdom, and insight shared here will inspire you and give you hope. Step into your divine nature and welcome to the forum. Welcome, everyone, to the Spiritual Forum. I have Dr. Moshe Daniel Block back with me, and we're really excited to go into part 2. Just really briefly, he's a naturopathic doctor, and in our first conversation, we went all over the place, but we tried to focus on the healing and the holistic healing and the mind-body connection. But now we're going to be delving into Moshe's work on Israel's unfinished covenant, which is a 4-part cinematic exploration of Israel's purpose, pain, and evolving destiny. And we're going to be talking about not just that, but why it matters to us today, why it matters to the world, and what it's all about. So welcome back, Moshe.
Thank you. So grateful to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we definitely need to ask everybody to have an open mind and an open heart on this. And it's not that it's difficult, it's just that so many people have closed their minds around these topics. And so we really, if we're wanting to create a world that works for all, and if we're wanting to create a world that's peaceful and healthy and whole, and if we're wanting to grow as spiritual beings, we've got to talk about this.
Yeah, because it's very central. There's a lot of energy that gets flung around and that captivates people around this topic. Israel is such a small country in the middle of the world. There's problems happening all over the world, but people focus so largely on Israel. And there's a reason for that. There really is, which we'll get into. But it is a very central place. I think Israel is a loudspeaker, an energetic loudspeaker. And the Jewish people that live there also have this sort of principle of echoing, rippling, a ripple effect of what they're holding in their collective. I mean, that's true for everybody, but there's a particular energy of the collective of Israel that when it is happening, especially in that land, when certain energies are being held as truth, then that ripples out and ends up being very influential to other peoples from around the world. That's what I've come to understand and come to see about Israel. So that's one reason why it's important, for a positive reason and a negative reason.
Well, do you want to explain those?
Well, let's put it this way. Like what I explain in Israel's unfinished covenant, that one of the main things is that perhaps I'll just give a brief overview of the main message of the movie, of a video series. It's not exactly a movie; it's a video series. And then it'll make sense what the positive and what the negative is. So, in the beginning, as we could say, or even before the beginning, when all was creator and there was nothing else, there was a dilemma that the creator faced, if you could call it that, or there was an invitation for growth, in the sense that if the creator is one and there's only one, then there's a lack of something in the one, because there's no way to have any other experience of anything else. So the creator being intelligent, the principle of intelligence also existed in this field of pure consciousness, which is all that is, and there's nothing else, had this understanding that there could be more joy, more amazingness of what this beingness is if some mirror could come in, or if some other element came into place such that there's now contrast, there's ability to experience the self. And so this impulse created this forward motion, like we could even call that what scientists project as being the Big Bang. It's the beginning of matter coming from a point of zero dimension and infinite density, which is exactly a projection of all the density starting from nothing, being projected outward and starting this endeavor of the physical world that we live in. In order to create this experience of other, God sets into motion, the creator sets into motion a divide, that which divides. So that which divides could create this other element for the purpose of evolution. And the very culmination of that moment of the purpose of creation in this world all centers around the incarnation of the Christ into Jesus of Nazareth, Yeshua. Other beings attempted along the way to incarnate the beingness that is God in the flesh so that there could be this experience of, I am this individual self and I am God. Therefore, I experience separation and unity. This is the beautiful aspect of the Christ. It is through this separate being that is the physical, this thing that we inhabit, and the pure beingness of God. To marry those two is, in my understanding, the very definition of the Christ. It's God in flesh. Mm-hmm. And that happened fully in Jesus of Nazareth for the first time on the planet. Before that, there were other incredible beings. Like I use the example in the video series of Ahura Mazda. Sorry, that's the name of, in the ancient Persian, it was Zarathustra. So Zarathustra was this great solar being, but his vessel couldn't handle the full incarnation of the divine being, of God's being. And it required a little bit more strengthening of the vessel because soon after came Christ. So my understanding is that the peoples that existed before the Jewish people, before Abraham, they existed in a sort of like an ephemeral, dreamlike existence where they felt themselves as part of a whole, much more than as individual selves. So they were evolving from this oneness, almost like as a baby is born out of the womb of its mother, right?
I was thinking
jumped
that.
on that. Yeah, great. I mean, I think I picked up on your thought right there. Yeah. I can't say that was my original thought. So as these societies, these civilizations, ancient India, ancient Egypt, Persia, the Babylonians, the Chaldeans, all these different civilizations, they didn't have pure individuality yet. Then enters Abraham into the scene, where he had a certain aspect to his brain that worked in such a way that he could perceive himself as a separate being. He could look at God and say, God has spoken to me. There was a moment in time, it was a special moment, where Abraham and that line was chosen for the carving out of individuality so that the purpose of creation could fulfill its purpose in having this otherness happen, so that ultimately the universe could evolve where the oneness that only knew one and nothing else could come into individuality. And for that individuality to then gaze upon the oneness and have experience of the divine as exists within the Christ. So the Jewish people, from the point of Abraham to the point of Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth, is 42 generations. which the Bible describes. It took 42 years of preparation of the vessel, the physical vessel, to be prepared enough, to be strong enough to house the immense vibrational energies of the divine. And as I said before, there wasn't enough strength of individuality for that to occur. Some hardships also occurred during those times, which includes many generations, possibly up to 400 years of slavery in Egypt that strengthened the Jewish people so that the vessel was ready. So when Jesus of Nazareth incarnated, it was at the nadir, the deepest point of separation into the flesh, into individuality. It's a point of darkness. And at that point of darkness in the flesh, I don't mean evil, by the way. I don't mean evil. I mean density of matter and separation in individuality. There's a difference. That prepared the vessel enough for the fullness. It's like the reflection is in this amount of individuality is ready now to incarnate the fullness of the oneness of creation, of the Creator. At that time, the purpose of individualization was fulfilled, meaning, okay, let's go up now. It's time to go up. We've descended enough into the matter. We've descended enough into individuality. Now it's time to ascend again. So at the moment, that's the nadir. Christ represents basically the fulfillment of the purpose of individuality in this space. Because when you look at individuality now from our perspective as spiritual beings, well, there's a beautiful aspect to it, but there's also a problem to it. If you remain individual, you cannot return to the oneness because there's no individual expression in the oneness of Creator. So the individuality has to be relinquished for the consciousness of the all. But because of the hardships on this earth, but because of the suffering that happened during those 42 years, because of the intensity of slavery and the world fighting, clashing, when the Christ occurred, the Jewish people held on to the process of individuality and didn't merge, didn't return with the Christ to fulfill the purpose of creation. And that's why the title is specifically selected, Israel's Unfinished Covenant, that it wasn't, the Jewish people were meant to serve as this vessel, but then were also supposed to open their hearts and open to all of humanity, because the Christ is not just for one people. It wasn't just for Jewish people. It's not just for Christian people. It's not just a Christian idea. It's a very universal thing of God in flesh for all people to embody. After the coming of Jesus of Nazareth, that became an invitation for all people. Every single person on the planet is invited to embody the Christ. It's not just, worship Jesus and don't do that yourself. Like that would be a misapplication of the purpose of the coming of the Christ.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let me just see if I'm getting all this. And I did watch your videos.
Very good.
So for 42 generations, the Jewish people were preparing this seedbed in the body of Jesus, Yeshua. That this
In the body of the people.
Okay.
And Jesus was a product of that. His body was a product of that. Yes.
Okay. And this body is able to contain the allness of God, or allness of consciousness. And then and then we're supposed to descend. The people are supposed to ascend from there, but got stuck. Like there's a stuckness to where we are now. Like we forgot to do the ascension part.
And not just like ascension is one way of looking at it, but another way of looking at it is to apply the love of the Christ to all people. But one of the stumbling blocks, and this dovetails well with where we started, and with the negative, what we're talking about, the negative, the Christ doesn't. The Christ is like a solar concept. It's a sun, sun, and also son. It's both are true, and the sun shines for all people. The sun doesn't restrict itself to, okay, I'm just going to shine on and can be concerned about my people, and we'll let all the other people handle themselves. It's a principle that's meant for all people and the good of humankind. But because of there was a very strong belief system amongst Jewish people. That's why we started with part one. We talked about belief system, which is the world is against us and we must protect ourselves. So, and this is the tricky thing around trauma. There's a truth to it, but does it serve to continue to hold the protective nature that would protect oneself and the belief that says we have to protect ourselves because of the nature of the world? We have to protect ourselves because each person has this power, as you know, to manifest their beliefs according to what they hold deepest true. So this idea amongst Jewish people, and we could see it happening today, continuing to happen today, and I understand it very well, is that the world is against us. Like, I mean, all kinds of things happen all the time. The most recent example is Bondi Beach in Australia, where many Jews were shot dead on Hanukkah. They were just on the beach celebrating Hanukkah, doing nothing else. So that triggers this thing. October 7th triggers this thing. Like the world, they want to kill us. We have to defend ourselves. And when in that feeling of defense is an insular quality which covers the purpose of expanding into the rest of the world, and it creates separation between people. So if the Jewish people have this strength of character, this strength of genetic that was strong enough for the Christ to enter, then and a lot of intelligence, which is also true for Jewish people, then what they hold as a collective resonates with the rest of the world. And what resonates is this energy of like, the world is against us. It's all, it's every man for himself. But in this case, it's Jews for themselves. And so we maintain our own individual identity and close our borders against others. And then that strife ripples. You could say any nation that holds any strong belief will have an effect on the collective. But I do think that there's something about Israel and about the Jewish people and about this whole story around the strength of the genetic code to incarnate the fullness of the God in flesh that has a particular influence on the planetary vibration. So, and I think that the powers that, like the dark forces on the earth, they know this about Israel. And so they concentrate a lot of energy to maintain the war with Israel. So they sponsor the people that would like to destroy Israel. That is a phenomenon. That's not a made up thing. That there is an agenda to destroy Israel, because if you were, let's say, Ahriman, if for there's other beings there, other entities, dark forces, but Ahriman's a simple use case. If you were Ahriman and you wanted to prevent people from ascending into the reality which transcends the physical, because you want dominion over the physical plane, you want all these people to feel like powerful and like, this is my world, then you would definitely, at least, because it's not the only focal point at all, but this is what we're talking about, you would focus on Israel a lot. You would put a lot of energy, you'd keep them, a flame under their butts of unrest, keep at regular intervals attacking, and that keeps this belief, because it's strong. I hear it all the time. The world is against us.
Yeah, I want to pause for a second because I have some reflective thoughts and probably some questions.
Please do.
Yeah. So I've just got to sort through in my mind where I want to go.
Yeah, sure. Take your time.
There,
Take your time.
there's so many places to go. The world is against us. I think I get that the Jewish people have that. I also get that it's fairly the whole victimization thing is kind of a playground for humanity, that things are happening to me and I don't have this agency. So I think surely that most people can identify with this. I just want to say that for me, I do not know whether or not Ahriman is a real being, or if Lucifer is a real being, or if these are just forces on the planet that humanity seems to be susceptible to. I'm just putting that out there as for if anybody who's having any resistance to
Yeah.
these
Yeah. And I
concepts.
agree. I agree. We could think of them as a force, as a principle that exists in an individual, not even outside the
Right,
individual,
right,
right?
right.
Right.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
want to bring that in just in case people are going, what? What are we talking about here?
Yeah. Yeah. Because people do shy away from new ideas
Yeah.
and from concepts like this. And this is a new idea. So that's why I wanted to define it last time and talk about it. It's a very important idea, but you don't have to you don't have to put all your chips into like the belief that exists or something. That's
Well, I
not
think people
what
could
this is
see
about.
the effect. It's kind of like you can see the effect of the wind. You really don't know what the wind looks like, but you can see the trees are waving.
Great.
And I think you can
Great.
see this about Ahriman, or that force, that you can see there are forces of division that are happening everywhere constantly on this planet.
Yes.
And there's also forces that draw us deep into the material that keep us really from our evolutionary journey, or that we allow to keep us from our evolutionary journey. Okay, so let's
Yes.
get back to Israel. Because I mean, I know a lot of people are mad at Israel right now,
Yeah.
and see Israel as the aggressor. So let's talk about that just a little bit, because I think that's a hurdle in people's minds.
Sure. So that's a great point. So now there's two ways of talking about Israel. One is on at the Christ level. What I mean by that is beyond division, looking at humanity as a whole, with compassion. And there's another way of looking at Israel, which is in terms of sidedness. Like Israel exists as its own entity, and then the Palestinians are their own entity, rather than being brothers from the same father, right? Which they are. They're descendants of Abraham. So when let's say I start to speak in defense of Israel, it can get Aramonic very quickly. So we don't want to risk that, because when I talk, let's say, in favor of Israel, there's this inherent potential in the air which might call the person who's pro-Palestinian to feel their side is neglected, and then Aramon's impulse rises up. So it's like I'm happy to address your question. I am, but I want people to understand, because it's a very important question, that it's very easy to fall into the Aramonic trap when we
Definitely.
start talking about, 1948 and then the
Yeah.
Nakba and
Yeah.
then history, because I have my perspective. I'm Jewish. I like to think of myself as being very pro-humanitarian. I'm not anti-Palestinian. I'm pro everybody. But I still have a perspective which could be wrong in some ways, because it might be skewed towards a Jewish perspective. I don't think it is. But like we said before, we all see what we believe in the intellect to be true is true, because that's how we see it. And there's a path here which is beyond that, really.
Yeah. Rumi
But
said
the
that.
thing,
Rumi
yeah.
said
Oh,
something that says,
excellent.
out beyond right and wrong or true, whatever it is, there's a field and I will meet you there.
Oh, that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So I really do like that. But I do think that the Israel and Jews have only recently started communicating with the world about what they're facing. But the Palestinians, in particular the PLO, it really started around with Yasser Arafat, and before there was a lot of media influence about what was happening. So Jews haven't communicated enough what they're facing. Israel is fighting on, I think, up to 8 fronts recently, and at around the time just after 2007, they were fighting the Hezbollah in the north and Hamas, and they're fighting the different aspects of the PLO, and they're fighting the Houthis from Yemen. They're getting bombed from all over. There's fighting from within the Israeli Arabs, and I mean, just so much happening. Iran was another front, obviously. So I don't think people realize what it's like where you're living, because like where we live in America, nobody's attacked Americans on American soil except Pearl Harbor. And we know it resulted from that, right? But so there's the idea that Israel is the aggressor. The world really does, like the media really does like to break things down in terms of aggressor and in terms of victim. So anybody, like there's this intersectionality amongst people on the left that if there's this aggressor well, that's the bad guy and the victim is the good guy. And that's a very, it's not always true. And I think that they're basically, I feel for the Palestinian people. I think they've been sort of co-opted into this agenda, which is a large ideological agenda for radical Islam, because Israel, Jews and Christians for that matter, especially Jews, are not really supposed to have a place on where there has been Muslim soil, because where Muslims have lived is considered to be holy land unto Allah, and no other person is allowed to live there. So there's some kind of ideology, a religious ideology here. I don't even think it's around the land. I think that it goes beyond that. And so the Jewish people, like, here's the belief system, the world is against us. Well, that's very manifest in radical Islam. That they literally do probably want to destroy Israel. When there's the chant of pro-Palestinians from the river to the sea, what that means is, yeah, they said it. That's it. Like, bye-bye Israel, like bye-bye Jews. And when the extremists chant death to Israel, death to America, that's what they mean that. So I really don't think that Israel is the aggressor is true. What I do think is Israel, in relation to the Palestinian people, has a much more powerful army. So they appear as being the aggressor because their army is much more powerful. I do think that Israel shows great constraint despite the deaths that are reported. And I do think that as an army, they have made a lot of efforts to preserve life on the other side by warning people, and they are fighting an enemy that hides, uses human shields. There's all the factors that are at play. It's a messy business. I think the problem here is that what Israel's doing is operating from this vibrational energy of the world is against us. We must protect ourselves. So war is justified, and the death of Palestinians is justified within this model of reality.
So that belief system. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. You hold your thought, because I want to hear what you have to say. But what I'm saying is, on the one hand, what Israel is doing is defending itself. It's not an aggressor, but in so doing, there is aggression in war. There is death in war. It's very easy to paint it as the aggressor. I don't think that's true at all. But I do think it's a problem from where it's operating from, that the world is against us, because that's not its destiny. Its destiny is not to be insular and protecting itself, Israel first, which is what a lot of people are very critical of also politically, of Israeli and Jewish influence stateside on American soil too, which we could talk about as well. So yeah, please, by all means, what you were gonna say.
Well, let me see if I can remember. I think what I was going to say is, it is the belief that the world is against us that creates the reality where the world is against us, or that there are those against us. So it's like I'm holding on to the victim belief, and so I end up as an individual, let's just say I'm a person who is I am a victim of domestic abuse. Let's just say that was
Yeah.
in
That's
my
a great
background.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then
Great
I
example.
have this whole upbringing around that, and I have this whole looking at the world like there's there's an abuser out there, and that I need to protect myself, or and so it shifts who I am in the world as long as I hold on to that belief as an identity. And
We
so,
might say it also can attract the abuser to
right.
meet the belief that I am there are abusers out there and I'm going to be abused.
Right, right. So it attracts
Yes,
that. So
yes.
that's why victims of abuse often have that repetitive, change the guy, same situation, change the guy, same situation.
Yep.
So
Right.
that's what's kind of going on a bigger scale. And I think one of the things that you've pointed out is even the term like the aggressor, that's just a way that we divide. It's just a way that we call one side good, one side bad. Normally, these conflicts are very, very complicated and have a great history, and I want to go into the history. But what it reminds me of, I keep coming back to, the child and the mother and individuals. What it reminds me of is I had 3 daughters, but I started my 2 oldest daughters were significantly older than or 5 and 7 years older than the other one, so, they were together for a while, and I just remember there was always like a, "Mommy, mommy, look what she did. She bit me," or "She's she she scratched me," or she whatever it was,
Yeah.
and I always ask, what happened right before that, honey?" And, "Well, I elbowed her,"
Yeah.
whatever it is, there's always something that causes this it's not this one isolated incident, something happened
Yes.
that cascaded into this bigger altercation. And I
Yes.
think that these situations where there are sides that's been going on for, millennia, that it's really hard to really say that one is right, the other is wrong. Ultimately, though, your message is that that's not where what we're here to be doing. We're here to be doing something else. Is that right?
Yes. However, in the video series, I do look at in part 3 the error of Abraham and Sarah
Let's talk
as
about
a
it. Yeah,
as a kind of starting point for
yeah.
all of this. And I would like kind of like as much as I really didn't like people getting down on one knee for I mean, I kind of get it a little bit. Like, but I think the Black Lives Matter movement, it was sort of co-opted by like a divisionary force and doesn't really represent like reconciliation and equality. So that's why I didn't really like that getting down on one knee. But what I'd like to see is an acknowledgement of Israel and Jewish people of, as I know that's a very long time ago, but even if it's 5,000 years ago, reparations are never too late. And when I say reparations, I mean energetic and from the heart. I don't mean necessarily here's a ton of gold or here are a bunch of Mercedes-Benz trucks for reparation, because that's what Germany gave to Jews and stuff in Israel. And physical reparations are nice, but what's needed is in the spirit. So the story is that Abraham loved Sarah. That was his wife. And he had, she had handmaidens and stuff like that. And she was barren for like up to 90 years and she wasn't having a child. So she's like, Abraham, I think it's time for you to like have an heir because you're getting old. And when you die, what's going to happen to your heritage, your lineage? So she gave Hagar, who was her handmaid, an Egyptian woman who had a baby, Ishmael, firstborn of Abraham, Ishmael, there to inherit Abraham's kingdom, so to speak. But then this miraculous baby came, Isaac. Isaac means in Hebrew, Yitzchak means he will laugh. He will laugh. It doesn't say who will laugh. It says he will laugh, Yitzchak. And they named him, Sarah named him Yitzchak because it was a miracle of birth. Like, let everybody laugh with him. Like, let's laugh. She laughed first, out of derision, sort of like doubtfully. Abraham laughed when he first found out he was coming out of a wonderment of God's
She was like 90 years
miracles.
old or something, right? I mean,
Yeah, they were old. They were really old. It's like miraculous for today's day and age, even more so for that age. So then Isaac was born, and when Isaac was a baby, Sarah did something that's very interesting. And the way that rabbis interpret it is also very interesting. She saw Ishmael laughing. So the Torah says that she saw him mitzachek, which is the same verb that he was laughing, basically. And she said, I will not have Ishmael take basically my son's inheritance. She wanted her son to be first to inherit. And they threw out Isaac. They threw out Ishmael and Hagar. So there was a wrong done to Ishmael there, because even if he was mocking, let's say, like, that's what the rabbis interpret the word mitzachek, even though it's the same verb, there's no reason to interpret it as mocking. But let's say it is mocking. Like you were just talking about your 3 children. Did they ever mock each other? Like,
that's what kids do.
Were they ever mean to each other? That's what kids do. And does that child deserve to be thrown out of the home? The answer to that is absolutely not. There's a rift that was created, and it's on Abraham and Sarah. It's on the Jewish side. Like even though Abraham represents the father of Ishmael and the father of the Arab people, this is Sarah represents like the Jewish side of things, right? So I think that error has to be acknowledged. Like basically in simple way, like, hey, I'm really sorry on behalf of what happened, that you were thrown out of the tent. Can we be brothers again? Like let's try that. Let's just try that. And okay, you're a little mad. Okay, fine. Okay, give me a shot to the stomach. Fine. Or like, those slap games that they play where people slap each other. I don't know if I would play that, but I would say, all right, look, I understand your anger. I understand your hurt. Ishmael's hurt, and when I say Ishmael, I mean his descendants too, it turned into rage. And he wants blood for his rage. So he has his own karma from that. But I understand it. I understand his karma. Israel has its own karma, which is, look, they're against us. They act subhuman. They act like animals. They just want to kill us. So they then disrespect Ishmael, who then is enraged because of the original wound of disrespect. That's the perpetual motion of this conflict. So I think we have to look at each other as brothers from the same tent and reconcile in the mind. Start to, in the mind, because the mind has a powerful field, and in the heart. Start to see them as members of the same tribe. And that's a very good start. So it's hard though when there's so much bad blood, but it has to start somewhere. There's so much enmity between each other, but where's that leading us? So I believe that the Torah, and this is also something that I offer in Israel's Unfinished Covenant, and this is actually very interesting because this is accepted amongst Orthodox rabbis, that God looked into the Torah to make the world, and there's nothing perfect in the world. Therefore, the Torah is not perfect. Therefore, we can heal it. We can heal the stories ourselves. This is the power of the invitation towards the Christ, the reconciliation brings us. Not to say that this is carved in stone. This story is carved in stone. And then to also add the interpretation. Ishmael mocked us. He mocked Isaac. He deserves to get thrown, to justify the throwing out, rather than saying, Sarah made a mistake. Mm-hmm. Abraham made a mistake. Mm-hmm. There was a mistake done, and we need to reconcile the mistake and offer. I'm sure that when this happens, that Jewish people, Jews went into the land. The land was terrible land, like real estate wise, before before Jews started to come in, like with the kibbutzes, and like healing the land, and it was like a flea infested, not a very hospitable land. Uh, um, um, the poet, what's the poet's name? I'm talking about. I quoted him, Mark Twain. Mark Twain visited the land and wrote about it, and all kinds of visitors to the land, British and stuff. They depict the land as not being very good land. If Jews can go and turn a land like that into the oasis that it is today, which is enviable, by the way, and that's part of the conflict too. That's part of the conflict. I just want to mention it's enviable land now. But if they can do that, they can reconcile with Palestine. They can reconcile with the Palestinian people, I'm sure. It's just a matter of putting the mind and the heart to it.
The whole mocking thing is interesting as an interpretation. And just for everybody who's listening, I will qualify this by saying I don't think you have to believe that these are actual people. I'm not saying they weren't actual people, but many of us can look at these stories very powerfully, whether they were actual people or just really stories or depictions of an overall cultural crisis. But anyway, our mind is definitely going to go to these individuals. But Sarah was afraid. What she did was out of fear and out of a sense of there's not enough. And so
Right.
therefore,
Deprivation.
there's
Yeah.
not enough. And I need
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
preserve mine. And I think all of us can identify with that energy that we have within ourselves. I need to preserve mine. I need to preserve my own. And there's not enough for everybody. And so easily can that person, or when we have that viewpoint, look at another who's may just be laughing and go and justify it, justify my belief
See
here.
it.
Yeah,
And maybe see, ooh, that was bad laughing. That wasn't
right, right.
joyous laughing.
That justifies my
Yeah.
need to solidify my own footing with my own family and expel you. I just invite
Myself
everyone to think
first.
about, how we do that in our own lives, because it's a pattern. I understand that your video series is about the role of Israel, but I also see it as something that's representative of all of humanity in what we do, and there's an opportunity to always reconcile.
100%. And also to consider other people and not only put ourselves first. You see, that's become so par for the course on the planet that it's in everything. It's in business. It's in how we relate to people that we don't know. We think of us first. So
Yeah.
it's a human thing. It's a human thing.
You protect your family, yeah. Mhm.
You protect your family, and that we all understand that nobody's going to argue with that. However, the problem there, and this is what's interesting about Israel, because Israel is held to a double standard on the planet. Israel is scrutinized in such a way, like, for example, it's not okay for Israel to put Israel first, but it is okay for America to put America first, for
Mhm,
example.
mhm, mhm.
I actually think that the America First movement is very positive in many ways, because of it is in the face of the global agenda, and
Mhm.
what humanity doesn't want, is to have a new world order.
Well, a
um,
lot of people think they do.
yeah, they've drunk the Kool-Aid. That's the problem. They're already the useful, forgive the word. It's a term, that was coined, I think, in Russia. They've become useful idiots for the New World Order. In other words, they do not think for themselves. They're not seeing the signs that a New World Order is not a good thing.
Well, I
So
think that
America
I'm
first,
sorry, I just
yeah,
wanna hint. I think what they
yeah,
they they see the standards, they see the ultimate what they've been promised, and they
yes,
go, "We want that. We want
the
that."
temptation,
Yeah.
the
We like
temptation
that
that's
no poverty.
dangled.
Who doesn't want no poverty? Who doesn't want, environmental stop, degrading the environment and things like that? But one of the things that you distinguish in your series is that there is, that outcome that I think we want to have for our world needs to come from the heart, not coercive from the outside. And that's the distinction that I have from the New World Order versus us creating it ourselves.
Yeah, well, the New World Order is just like the way evil often will take the guise of good. It's the wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, yeah,
Its intent is not for people to be free. It's the exact opposite. It's to control, take away human rights,
yeah.
and for a very, very small number of people to rule over humanity like a bunch of sheep.
Mhm.
So, so yes, ultimately the true um, destiny of planet Earth is a unified order in a sense, where we all are unified under a flag of love, possibly even learn a unified language. It's that might come to be the language part, but definitely the destiny of planet Earth is for all nations, for all people to find the unified field. You know, it's so simple. God is one. God is all unifying. There's nothing that is not God, actually. The only thing that the forces that defy God can do is to try to carve out illusionary spaces, because God owns the real estate of all that is true. So the kingdom, like the devil's kingdom, is really only what is not real, what's not true. And that does include the physical world, funny enough, because the physical ultimately is not a true reality. It's just a temporary scaffolding, a temporary arena within which we can become identified as individual so that we can give back to God what God lacked in the beginning, which was being all that is and there's nothing else. Because when we return, having become individual, we graduate the existence of creation to the next level. In The Only Planet of Choice, one of the books that I quote a lot, the Council of Nine, the Elohim, the principle of the Elohim, aeons in the Gnostic tradition, say it's a very tall order. I mean, this is the tall order that we've been working towards, the evolution of the purpose of the suffering and the individualization of humanity. And I do think I want to just make this point about Israel, because it's true for all. What is true for Israel is true for all people. This is especially important in Israel because there's a certain power there that, like I said, has a rippling effect. It has a powerful effect. And more so than that, we really do want Israel to opens its heart to the Palestinian people and to the rest of the world. We want Israel to shed the false belief. Now, when I say false belief, I don't mean that it's not, the past is not true. But I mean that if you hold on to a belief, it's false, because there's a reality there in every moment. Think about the causal plane. It's all pure potential. So what potential do you want to be putting your power into? So when that is shed, that false belief, we want Israel to shed that, obviously, just like we would want you or me. But of course, we want that for Israel, especially if you believe that Israel has a particular power in manifesting the ripple effect in humanity. Maybe you don't. And you're just like, okay, we want that for Israel because we want it for everybody, whatever. But when that false belief is released, the world is released. When that false belief is released, then the heart of Israel starts to open. And the language of the heart is, every human being on earth is important.
Yeah.
And that becomes a reality for earth. And then earth graduates. And then the Christ becomes for all people. And the order of things is not necessarily accurate, what I just said, but those things are this is the destiny of the planet. Did you know that Yerushalayim, like the Hebrew for Jerusalem, is Yerushalayim? Do you know what that means in Hebrew?
Mm-mm.
Yeru means they will see, and shalom is peace.
Oh,
But shalayim is a play on shalom. Shalom is a singular because you can't have pieces. It's just peace, like water. You can't have, well, you can have different bodies of water, right? So there's bodies of water or waters. But peace is just a state. It's not, you can't pluralize it. But when you say Yerushalayim, it means they will see peace, both of them.
Mm, love it. I've got a question for you.
Sure.
In the one of the Gospels, I can't remember which, but when Jesus says, uh, "Everything that I can do, you will be able to do and more." Do you think this is what that statement is about, that we will each embody the Christ?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll each embody the Christ. And I mean, a part of every message of the Bible, Jesus, any of the masters remains mysterious until you have
Uh-huh.
experience of it. But I do think that we will be able to do things and greater, just because also we're 2,000 years into the future, and our intellects have developed tremendously since that time. And the intellect is the realm of Ahriman. So even though we were like, it was enough already at the time of Jesus, we don't need to descend further into matter or into the intellect, the development of the intellect. It was enough to have peace on earth and have this Christ force spread. We've developed our intellect to the sense that when people embody the Christ, the things that they'll do with their intellect, guided by the Christ in their center, will be unprecedented.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
what I think. Like, that's the potential is there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, when the intellect operates without heart, it's cold, and
Yeah.
it can be very separated from the human, right? The
Well,
beauty of being human.
yeah, it's no accident that our political parties are one is very, mind brainy, intellectual, and the other is very emotional.
Yeah, and they're extremes of each other.
Yes,
They're
they're
very
extremes of
extremes of
each
each other.
other, yeah.
When the heart inhabits the person who has very, very developed intellect, which is a challenge for that person because the intellect can kind of oppose the heart.
Mhm.
But if there are people who can embody the heart and have very well developed intellects, then they can do incredible things.
Yeah. It
When
just shows that
the
we're
heart
we're
is a
really,
sponsor.
we've created these divisions and these polarities. There's only so much polarity we can stand before we kind of figure out, I think, how to integrate all of this and to become who I believe we've been designed to be. So what's
Yeah.
next? What do we do? What are people supposed to take from your series? And what is the actions of the descendants of Ishmael and Isaac? What do we see resolving there?
Thank you. Great question. So the first thing is, don't hate on Israel. Like that, don't send hate towards Israel, because that's just going to make them hunker down deeper into the bunker of the world is against us. And we're really good at that. Like, we could survive at all odds, which is kind of a bit of a miracle of Israel's survival. It's like, and it's also part of the ego of Israel, is we have survived
Mhm,
for
it
so
is.
long with the world against us. So if there's pride there, it's gonna, it's gonna just, it's sort of one of the things that attaches the belief that the world is against us. It's candy that goes with it, which you don't want that candy. So spit out that candy. Don't hate on Israel. See Israel in this light. Visualize the tent of Abraham opening for both peoples to be reunited. Visualize this. Understand Israel. The what I call the primary problem in the video series is all one thing. It's all this one thing. Everything can be explained. And when you simplify it like that, you can see with a little bit more compassion, and perhaps a lot of compassion towards Israel, is that they're trying to survive this onslaught of people trying to kill them, which is a real situation, by the
Mhm.
way, which is propagated by the belief. So there's a lot of subtlety there, a lot of balance. So see that, see see Israel in that light, see Israel um taking ownership of the wound, the original wound of Ishmael. See Israel healing the Torah, healing the Torah. Because yeah, maybe you don't think all those stories are real, but the Jews in Israel do, and so do the Palestinians. They take the Torah as being one of the foundational texts in Islam. Moses is a legit messenger, right, of God. So they really take it as real. So see that healing, the support of the the love. See that. Don't take one side. There's no one side that's good. Both sides are both people have right to exist. Let's let both sides exist, and even more, come back into brotherly, sisterly love.
You know, what's interesting when you say that is, I have not taken a side, and I have had friends unfriend me because I have not taken a side.
Right, right.
You
Because
know,
they're so harmonically impulsed that they know that their side is the right side. And therefore, if you're not taking a side, you're not with us, you're against us. That kind of mentality.
or you're
And
a wuss,
this
you know,
is
or you're not brave enough to take a side.
you're not yeah, you're just non-committal wuss. Like, can't you see that there's a right side in that? Like there is truth in the Middle East, but it's the highest truth is that which transcends history, that which transcends woundedness, trauma. The highest truth is that it is the destiny of planet Earth to be united as the flag of humankind. That's our destiny. And nations were erected to protect boundaries, borders, in the model of separation, which is like the model of the Tower of Babel, where everybody starts babbling in their own tongues when we come from this place of unity. So that's I like people just to see that in their minds, and not to like. I mean, it's okay to watch the news, but just be mindful of the impulses there to grab you. It's
Mhm.
designed to get you to hate. It's designed to get you to see one way, and it's mostly fabricated BS. It's mostly it's engineered to have this agenda and not to show the other side, for
Mhm.
example.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's a good call to action, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the visualization of opening up the tent and inviting Ishmael back into the tent and Hagar back into the tent in some way. I don't I really
And
like that visualization. Yeah.
thank you. Catch this also. Catch this. Religious Jews want to build the third temple.
Yeah.
They're gunning for that.
Yeah.
Just last year or the year before, the Vatican said, "Hey, Jews of Israel, we have your menorah for you. We have the menorah from the first or the second temple. I'm sorry, I'm not sure which one. The first temple, let's say. As a they're tempting. This is the Vatican. They're tempting the Jews. They're tempting the Jews to try to build the temple. What's sitting on the third temple site? The dome, the Al Aqsa. Oh wait, no, that's not the Al Aqsa Mosque. The Al Aqsa Mosque is just off a little bit. That's the Dome of the Rock, which was built right on the holiest site of the Jews. So the Muslims came and they built right on top of that. And in order for there to be a third temple, I think the third temple is a collective heart temple. But let's say we want to represent it on earth. In order for that to be possible without creating World War III, there has to be reconciliation between the children of Abraham. So that's God's doing. You know what I mean? Like that in or okay, you want your temple, fine, but you got to get on, you got to make reconciliation and maybe build it together. Make it a temple for all people. Make it the temple for all people. Make it represent the like on earth as in heaven, the place where all people are welcome and to transcend the identity of individuality, which has served a purpose, but it's 2,000 years overdue, right? Like, okay, it's overdue now. Let's move on.
The
Let's move on.
timer's been beeping for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
I like the idea much more that the temple is built in our heart, that there's something that is of new consciousness, not just the physicality and the materiality of a particular place. I love the idea
Right,
that it's inside, this is where the God is within us, the kingdom within. And so
right.
why are we always looking out there? So I understand the benefit of having sacred places, but where is the most sacred place, right?
It's in the Christ in the heart.
Yeah.
And this is
Yeah.
something that I'd like to impress on all people. You know, I could speak for Jewish people because I identify as Jewish. I was born Jewish. I went through the whole gamut. I still see myself as being beyond that identity. So I'm not restricted to being Jewish. I see myself as part of the I am, as part of the universal human. But for Jewish people, the idea that God is someone commanding you is also ended 2,000 years ago with the fulfillment that Christ brought. Because the commandments also harden the individualization. They harden this idea that I am here and God is over there telling me to do this. That God knows and I don't. That separates me from God.
Mhm.
So the law of Moses was fulfilled 2,000 years ago. And this is a red pill for Jewish people. It's a tough one. But the living Torah, where God's will lives in the heart, is the invitation now. So the idea of the temple living in the heart, it also shows that God is not this being that commands you from the outside. That was part of the path that created this individuality and this idea that God is there and I am here. But that's over, meaning it should be over. It should be over. And it will be. It will be over. It will be. It's just a matter of, gently, with lots of compassion, this message will spread. I'm not the originator of this message. The idea that Christ fulfilled the law of Moses is widely debated, and therefore they're supported by a lot of Christians. This idea that the law of Moses is over, is fulfilled by Jesus coming, by Yeshua. And I think that's true. I think that's fundamental to the Israel's unfinished covenant, is that idea that God is in us. The Christ is now available to all people. If Christ lives inside of you, you know the truth. You don't need to be commanded from the outside and learn the commandments. There's one commandment.
Love
Love.
God, love each other.
Love God, love each other. It's all love. Love dictates, determines, decides all things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just,
Amen.
yeah, amen. May I have an amen?
Glory.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think we're about coming to a close, but I am curious about whether or not you have in your own mind any sense of a timetable on this, or are you just kind of surrendered to it's going to happen, whether it's, tomorrow or 2,000 more years from now?
Well, I don't think that we can have an exact timetable. I think that's clear,
I'm just wondering,
that
like, in
there's
your
no way.
lifetime, are you having a sense that we're gonna see some activity that's pretty significant?
I sure hope so.
Uh-huh.
But I can tell you that when there's like a deadline when it should be finished. Like, we can't wait until the deadline, because there's this prophecy amongst Kabbalists, amongst Jews, that if the Messiah, that's the return of the Messiah, which they don't take to be Christ, but that's also something that, Yeshua, the Christ, it's in all people. It's not one person coming. But when that messianic age comes, if it comes in its time, there'll be great destruction. If it is accelerated, there'll be great celebration. So if we wait for Godot, if we sit and wait for Godot, there'll be destruction. And the cutoff point, I mean, there's different ways of looking at it. It might be 2030, to be honest. But let's say we put that to the side for the moment. What's the year now? It's 5780. I forgot. What's the year? Let's say it's 5784 or something. What year is it in the Jewish calendar
I was gonna say, I
now?
thought it was 2026.
Right. Well, that's the Gregorian calendar, or
Yeah,
like
okay.
basically the 5786.
Okay.
Sorry, I lost a couple of years there. So the idea here is that God took 6 days to create the earth, and on the 7th there was a great rest from all the work which had been done. So all this work that we've done ends at the end of the 6th day. Right now we're 5786. So at the maximum, we have 214 years. But you don't work right up until the very end of the day on the Sabbath, the Friday. You finish before you're done before, because it's not good form to be working right up until the very, very end of the day. So to use this metaphor, we've got a limited amount of time for humanity to get its act together. And I hope it's much sooner than 200 years.
Yeah. Very interesting. This has been an interesting conversation. I had no idea where we were going to go. Although I did see
Cool.
you,
Yeah.
I did watch your video series, so I knew we'd be talking about that. But we have gone where no one has ever gone before on this podcast. So I appreciate you.
like good Trekkies, And I appreciate you for that. Thank you. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
I just, is there anything else you want to share about the covenant that we missed? I know we didn't talk about all of it, but we'll have links to the YouTube channel and everything so people can find it.
Yeah, what I would like is, I'd like to be able to chat about this more. If anybody has a podcast, they're interested in further discussion, they want to challenge me, I'm open to it. I'm very welcoming. If they want to be, as you have been very gracious and very supportive and like spreading the positive nature of it. But if, I'm going to challenge you on this, they can do that too. I invite them to contact me. We could set something up. I'm open to that. Just really, when they a lot will become very clear when they watch the video series, because I worked very painstakingly to try to tackle these very difficult topics in a way which is digestible and which ideally brings some kind of forward movement. Yeah.
Okay, all right. And I love the idea that you're willing to be challenged, because that gives us another opportunity for connecting and reconciling and being in the space of cognitive dissonance, but being okay with it. And all of that
Yeah.
is very healing for humanity.
Yeah, it is, for people to be able to go toe to toe, have a little tension, but then be, hey, bruh, or sis.
Into the tent. We're opening the tent for you.
Yeah. No, that was good. Let's go smoke a hookah. Let's go. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you, Moshe. It's been so fun. I really appreciate it. And
Thank you,
I wish
Carol.
you the best. And I agree. Let's not make it another 200 years. Let's get this Christ essence in our heart going soon.
Let's go. Let's
do
go.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right.
Blessings. God bless you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for hanging in there and listening to this really fun conversation. And I now close the Spiritual Forum.
Thanks for listening. If you like what you've heard here, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, or a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. You can also sign up for my weekly newsletter or make a donation to support this work at thespiritualforum.org. Tune in every week, and remember, you are a divine creation, perfect and whole, just as you are.